Hey everybody, still in Ragland again. For my fourth article, I decided to go back again, similar to my last article, to the early literature of Intro to Audio, which is modern recording techniques. If you can't tell just from these past, this presentation and the past one, this is an absolute treasure trove of information on this topic. There's a whole, I think it's 80 pages or something like that, 80-page chapter dedicated to analog tape recording just by itself. So for this particular presentation, I was focusing on two specific sections of Chapter 5, which are Section 11, Print Through, and Section 14, Degaussing. So paraphrasing these sections, Print Through, in a very rough definition, just for this presentation, is where the magnetized tape affects the magnetism of the other pieces of tape in the roll. That sounds dumb, but basically it can cause warping, it can cause delay or some kind of like weird echo. Some people call it shadows. I don't know. It's a really weird thing to hear, and it's something that you really want to avoid. And one easy way that this can be kind of fixed or avoided is by storing your tape's tails out. And that basically just means that the recording is stored on the right-hand take-up reel, meaning that the end of the tape is on the outside of the reel and the beginning of the tape is on the inside. So Section 14 covers degaussing, which is the process of, in short, there's a lot of science that goes into it, but in short, it can be described as just removing the residual magnetism that have built up in the magnetic tape heads. So neglecting to degauss the heads of an analog tape recorder could have some detrimental effects on your recording. This buildup can affect the high end of your recording itself. It can erase some of that high end and make it so that all of your tracks sound really dull or just not as polished. And especially in a scenario where your storage system maybe is not as in depth as it needs to be, you can lose entire recordings just off of not degaussing the heads. Something the book clarifies, which seems a little bit common sense, but it's important to have in the forefront of your mind whenever you're degaussing, is to take the tape off of the analog tape recorder before degaussing, because you will erase entire reels of tape, given that you do not do that. So I chose these articles in particular because, like I mentioned in my last presentation, I don't have years or even decades of time to learn these things by myself. So I have to go into, and there's a vast amount of literature on this topic, but I have to go into that literature and gather as much information as I can possibly get so that I have the highest chance of success as soon as I walk in the studio and start utilizing an analog tape recorder. I think articles like this will benefit me greatly because they really determine how to maintain the sound of a recording on tape as opposed to just the machine itself. You can focus on making sure the machine is clean and all that, but once you get past that, you want to make sure that the recording itself is as good as it possibly can be. Because without a good recording, almost none of this maintenance means anything. So just ensuring that at the end of the project, you have a project instead of a mess of a recording.